Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 11 of Caught Lookin. Joining me tonight are Sarah, Kels, and Ash. So originally we had a fun little cute episode planned, our first annual Looking Back Awards, and we wanted to talk and look back at the 2025 season and award just some goofy little awards to our favorite Guardians. But apparently the state of New York had a different plan for us tonight. And I'm sure, as most of you know, the indictments on Emmanuel Clase and Luiz Ortiz have come down and kind of rocked our world. So we've talked about it previously on, several episodes so far. Ladies, what are your gut reactions to this?
My gut reaction was that I was fully prepared for them to be guilty. I did not have a good feeling about it, but I was not prepared for the extent of how bad it was,
Hmm.
especially after reading the full indictment. I mean, just how deep this supposedly ran, and it seems like most of it was ran by Clase himself. I was just not prepared for just how serious it was, so it was definitely a shock to me.
I think for me too, it was like I never would wish this to happen with anybody, but it almost felt like with the initial timing that this was something that Ortiz brought over and Clase got wrapped into. And I kind of had that
Hmm.
thought in the back of my mind the whole time. So kind of seeing it potentially being the complete opposite and Clase was the guy the whole time is kind of just like it almost kind of feels like a sucker punch because this is a guy you root for. And it's like seeing these kinds of things, it's just like a betrayal that we never really expected. And like Sarah said, like we kind of were just waiting for the, guilty thing to come out, but the extent of the guilt has been very tough to digest, I think.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's all alleged and we haven't like found anything out yet, but I guess I thought it would be more like in the NBA where they were like, you're just banned for life. You don't get to play anymore. But for it to actually be like, oh, Ortiz was arrested and he's going to be in court Monday, like that, I don't know. It's just like, it makes it seem so much bigger than it's like, oh, they're just throwing pitches to, get money. It's like this altered the games, this altered the culture. And it's like, I mean, Clase is not even in the country. They haven't even gotten him yet. So it's like there's still so much up in the air that it's like it's not done yet. Like when Clase is inevitably arrested, I mean, if he's out of the country, I don't even know what's going to happen or if they're going to extradite him or if he knew this was coming. Like there's still so much to unravel and unwrap in coming days that it's like, I don't know. It's like worse than I thought. I didn't think that the literal government was involved. Like I thought it was just MLB and
Yeah.
just Luis and Clase, but for like the literal, I'm looking at the indictment. It says United States of America against Emmanuel Clase de la Cruz and Luis Leandro Ortiz Rivera. Like
It's
that's
crazy.
crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a whole criminal enterprise. I mean, the formal charges against them were wire fraud conspiracy, honest services wire fraud conspiracy, conspiracy to influence sporting contests by bribery, and money laundering conspiracy. So yeah, that stuff is way beyond just
Yeah.
MLB punishments and sanctions. Like this is an actual like criminal scheme that they were a part of. And yeah, just the scope of it, I could not imagine that it would just be this bad.
The fact that it started in 2023, I would have never guessed that. I definitely was just, oh, this is something that came up this year, something they just started to do. No, Class A has been doing this after he signed his extension. That is probably the part that really drives me mad. This man signed a $20 million 5-year extension with additional bonuses. And someone mentioned that, if he got the bonuses and I think two player options, it would have netted him $38 million. He threw that all away
He
for
threw it away for
for
$12,000, which
pennies.
that's not even the price of a used Honda Civic. Like, let's be so for real. $20
Yeah.
million contract and you only profited 12,000 from those bets. That's why part of me is like, is there more to this because it
There
just
has
doesn't
to
make
be.
logical sense.
Because he's making that kind of money. He was not only on pace to be the most paid closer in the league, but probably one of the best closers this league has seen in a long time. For $12,000, like there's got to be something else going on, especially because the people that were betting, like he was helping bet, sure, they got a lot of money in this, but that's not any personal gain for him. Like, what are you gaining from this besides this $12,000? You're throwing literally your entire future away.
Tyler Beatty retweeted some of this and said, pretty sure Clase was making about $15,000 a day on his contract. Like, this is what you're making in a day, and over 3 years that you made $15,000 on this scheme. Yeah, it's, and also the fact someone brought up that we've been talking about this in the Discord obviously all day, getting ready for this episode. And someone brought up the fact that the games that they mention in the indictment all happened in 2023 and 2025, if I'm right. So,
2024 is not mentioned a single time in the indictment.
which is very interesting to me. And I'm curious if they're saving maybe because I can't imagine he paused in 2024 and that he was just
That's,
like,
yeah. And like when you're thinking about this, like when I first read, I'm looking at Zach's tweet right now, activity began May of 23 for Class A. My immediate thought is the 2024 postseason.
exactly.
That
Mm-hmm.
implosion is record breaking. I mean, obviously, that's the first thing we're all thinking of. And to see 2024 not mentioned once in this 23-page document, what, like, there's got to be something else.
One thing that is crazy, I just looked this up, is the official universal launch date for both online and retail sports betting across the state of Ohio was January 1st, 2023. So it
Oh,
wasn't even like we weren't even doing it to like an insane level yet. And literally in the start of this season in May, it began. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And I feel like maybe 2023 was only mentioned like seven-ish times, and 2025 was mentioned like 30 times, in addition to the times it's mentioned in the document because it's currently 2025. You have to think that maybe things were just running as normal in 2024 and there was nothing really of note because they got really good at it. But then when Ortiz gets involved, this is where those texts become more incriminating because you're involving another person. And in 2024, maybe it was just so well run after dipping their toes in 23 that it wasn't catchable. So they just were kind of doing business as usual. I would love to go back into all of his games in 24 and look for those kinds of like spikes where he literally pushes them into the dirt and kind of go from there. But I mean, I don't know. It's crazy to think that the person was also at some of the games, literally, like
mm-hmm.
physically sitting in the stands and then having phone calls. Like there's so much more to look at of like a whole year is missing from the timeline. And then Ortiz gets involved for 2 pitches and it's blown up. So it's like there's something that is not in the indictment that they're keeping in like evidence or something that has to be revealing.
It also makes me think, too, like this all getting revealed kind of right after Ortiz gets involved. Imagine we don't get Ortiz, and imagine how much longer Clase could go just, under the table and we don't know anything. Because obviously he was pulling this off extremely well until he wasn't.
I was literally just thinking about that, about how what would have happened if Ortiz hadn't gotten involved. Maybe in 2024, like we were saying, they became so savvy at it that they didn't think they would get caught. And so maybe they thought that it was okay to try to see if they can get another person on board, which also brings me to the question of how exactly did Ortiz get wind of this? That's something that it just doesn't add up to me. I feel like there's two possibilities. Either one, Ortiz somehow found out that Clase was conspiring with his associate, whether it be through a phone call or maybe he saw a text or something. Maybe he kind of clocked him on it and he was like, hey, what's going on? Like, maybe he was talking about turning him in. And maybe Clase was like, okay, well, I can have you in on this. And maybe he just kind of paid him hush money or something. I feel like that's a possibility that maybe Ortiz was a little bit coerced into it. even though he knew damn well what he was doing. But the other possibility is that I don't know what Clase and Ortiz's relationship was prior to the trade. Like, were the two of them friends? Did Clase confide in him saying, hey, like, we have this thing going on with a couple friends back in the Dominican Republic? Because they're both from there. So maybe he just kind of confided that in him and the two were just kind of in on it together. But yeah, just not knowing exactly how Ortiz got involved is what's bugging me on this.
It's also curious to think about, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, is, obviously Ortiz came from Pittsburgh and Pittsburgh had the same, like a similar scandal in 2022, which would have been slightly before it started with Clase. So you almost wonder if Ortiz not necessarily had a role in that, but obviously he must have been aware of it, especially after that came out. So maybe that connection also ties into this as well. And it's like, are we ever going to know what really
Right. It's
happened to
very
connect them?
right. It's very suspect that both Ortiz and the guy who was involved in betting in Pittsburgh, I can't remember his name, they were teammates in 2022.
Marcano.
Yeah, it's
Marcano, that's
Marcano.
right. Him and Ortiz
Yeah.
were teammates on the Pirates from 2022 and 2023 while Marcano was betting. And so I think it's just, I don't know, it's weird to think that Ortiz was completely innocent while he was on a team with an active bettor and then this happens. I mean, he could have been in the dark. I truly don't know, but I just think it's a very odd coincidence that he was teammate with a guy who got caught sports betting. So I don't know if maybe that kind of planted the seed in him and maybe he sought out Clase for that. I don't know. There's so much that just doesn't add up. I still just have so many questions. And then similarly, how did Clase get involved in this too? I want to know, were the bettors family, friends? I'm sure he was probably friends with them or he had some sort of personal relationship, but like whose idea was it to start
Yeah, because
this scheme?
It sounds
they've
like the betters,
referenced two, right? Two
Yeah.
betters
two
with him.
betters,
Mhm.
yeah. And they
Mhm.
mentioned that both of them are also from the Dominican Republic. So even though the betters came to Cleveland to watch some games, and they also specifically call out that they went to Clase's house and spent time with him, and also apparently used the same bank while they were in here.
That's convenient.
Yeah, right.
This is
Um,
straight from the indictment. So, Better
yeah.
One, an individual whose identity is known to the grand jury, was a citizen of the Dominican Republic, and that they say the same for Better Two. But then they talk about how they maintained accounts. So they say Better One maintained accounts with both betting platforms and used the accounts to place wagers on the outcome of pitches. So it says both betting platforms. So it seems that there's two different platforms involved. And then for Better Two, they maintained accounts in his name with both betting platforms. In addition, Better 2 directed Individual 1 to open a second account on betting platform 1 and Better 2's behalf. And this person lives in New York. So Individual 1 is also an important person in this because they are currently residing in New York and were directed by these other people. And it says Better 2 used all three of the accounts on the betting platforms to place wagers. So it's like there's multiple people and they placed over 100 straights and parlays on Clase's offerings, is what friend of the show, Zach Meisel, said in the Athletic article. So it's like that seems like there would have to be activity in 2024. That just like it doesn't make sense. They got caught so early in 25, and it feels like they wouldn't have done that much of it in the first year of like sports gambling in Ohio. I guess I don't know when it was introduced in New York, but I just there has to be 2024 involved in this.
Right, because like I don't know for sure how the whole process works, but part of me is like maybe they just needed enough evidence to take to a grand jury. So maybe this was just kind of like the initial discovery that they found, and then maybe they're I don't know if they're continuing it or maybe more will come out, but yeah, I need to know what happened in 2024 because that was my first thought when this came out is did he throw the ALCS? Because I confidently think he did. And I really do think that he cost us a World Series berth. Because I've never seen Clase implode like that.
hmm
We all said the same thing, and it's just the what ifs are
I mean,
just
didn't he
crazy.
have a .61 ERA that season? And then
It
over
was,
the
I
two
mean,
games he played had a 9 ERA. Like
he
that's it. You
he
don't
got
see
Cy
that.
Young votes that year. Like
As a
I was
reliever,
confident in him winning it
as a
as a
closer, as somebody who comes in for one single inning.
and not even every game. Like
Yeah.
that's unreal. You don't see that.
yeah, he literally put up historic numbers in 2024. And we're over here thinking this guy's going to go down as one of the best relievers, not just for the Guardians, but
For
Oh,
one
baseball.
of the
Hall
best
of
in the
Fame.
game. Yeah, I
He
mean, honestly, he was
absolutely
on pace to be up there with Rivera. He was on pace for it. And I will, I'll die on that hill because it was true. But it's just crazy how quickly he can just throw that away after such an amazing historic season. Like, this was the last thing I would ever imagine happening. Because I know he had the rocky start to 2025, but knowing now, it's like if none of this was in play, if he was never a part of any sort of betting scandal, would he be the same pitcher he was last year? And that's another what if that we just won't know.
Kind of going back a little bit, I know we mentioned about sports betting in New York, and I did look it up. So, in-person sports betting was first authorized by a voter-approved constitutional amendment in 2013, but the first retail sports books did not open until July of 2019. And then online and mobile sports betting was legalized in April of 2021, officially launched in January of 2022.
Mm, okay.
So still
Yeah.
2022, I mean, it's only a year before Ohio.
and it sounds like all of this was done through mobile apps and not through like traditional bookies or whatnot. So yeah, I believe that it did start in 2023. I don't think it happened. I mean, Kels, that poll of noticing when Ohio legalized sports betting is, I do believe that that's when this started. Like there was no illegal betting, I guess. I mean, this is all illegal betting, but it didn't happen prior to that. But yeah, I'm very interested to follow the court case and figure out what, because like you guys said, like there has to be something that happened in 2024. I can't believe that he would just pause and just not do anything. So I don't know if that's just more well hidden, if that's not as obvious as some of these other pitches that they were showing and calling out in the indictment, or what. But
And I feel like he could look me dead in the eye and tell me that he did not throw that postseason, and I would laugh in his face. There's just no way that's not like I'll stand on that. Like he had to have thrown that.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
just
even
don't
if he
see that.
doesn't throw it, like, because the reason that this worked for so long was because it wasn't determining the outcome of the games, except in that one that the Mets walked off. I think in the Zach Meisel article in the Athletic, it said that he actually only gave up like one run in the entire other time of the indictment, but that one was like one that particularly went out of whack. But I mean, even if he didn't throw it on purpose, that amount of pressure is like so seismically life altering and rattling. Like, there's just no way that you're in the right mindset to be a player for your team. Like, it makes you nervous. Like, you're committing a crime and playing baseball at the same time. Like, if you look at Ortiz and probably why they got caught so fast, in the innings that Ortiz threw pitches that were allegedly facilitated by Clase, he gave up 5 runs to Seattle in that inning. And then the second one, he gave up 3 to the Cardinals. So it's obvious that there's something going on in his head, at least, that is shifting
a guilty
the game.
conscience.
Well, yeah, and it's shifting the game. I
Yeah.
mean, you're not playing at your best because you are altering the game in a way, and you're betting on yourself. Like, I get that sports gambling is like fun and stuff, and the players want to engage in it, but at least in the NBA they would not bet on themselves or like bet on something else. But like, this is literally completely changing the game for your own favor. It wasn't like, oh, he's going to throw strikes or he's going to do this. Like, it was to throw a bad pitch. And it's like, you can't possibly do that and be looking out for your team to win. So
As if
it's
there
so
were
weird that
walks.
2024 went well for him, because I would have like the psychological damage that would have done to me to be so deceitful would have, I mean, that's probably why it caught up to him in the postseason if this is what happened.
I just don't know how, and maybe this is just me like being raised to be a good person, but I just don't see how you can do that and look your teammates in the eye
Exactly.
and like
Right,
call
exactly.
those your brothers.
That's what I'm
Like,
saying. Like
and
2020, he never recovered.
yeah, and like the first person I'm thinking of, obviously through all of this, is probably the same person you guys are thinking of, and it's Jose. Like, how do you look at him and just go about your day, knowing
And
that
your
you are
catchers
actively,
too.
oh
Your
yeah,
catchers, Hedges
Yeah.
and Bo, like,
I
what do
feel so
they
bad
think?
for Bo. Like I feel bad
He
for him
got a
because
lot of
like
crap.
Bo's just starting. Like this is his introduction to becoming our next catcher or starting his career. And people are blaming him and looking at
hmm
him. I mean, didn't one of the pitches I think ended up being like a pass ball or something, or some of them he couldn't catch. I mean, I don't think people were on base, but it's like you're altering his game calling abilities. He's thinking, oh, he doesn't have this pitch right now. We need to do something else.
You're
And he
altering
worked with
his
Bo so
stats
often.
too. His defensive run saved, his passed
Yeah.
balls, like those count against him. And
Yeah, like that's his
expecting,
career.
he's expecting the ball, like he calls the ball in a
Yeah.
certain spot, and then you're spiking it into the ground a foot in front of the plate, and it's careening off to the side. Yeah, like he's so young and so new and was still trying to get a good grip on how to call a big league game and how to manage all of the pitchers. And you're going that around there and just fucking around and ruining it for him and causing him unneeded strife.
Yeah, that's why I feel like the culture is in danger. And I know some of you guys disagreed with me when we discussed it, but I if I'm Bo and I'm young, I mean I'm thinking of all these guys like Ortiz and Clase are younger than I am. Like I'm 29 and like we look at these guys as like they're big guys and they're adults and they're professionals, but it's like he's so young. He's just starting out. There's no way he's coming into next season thinking that he can like call a game normally. Like I know that they trust each other, but I would be looking at every new pitcher that I get and new teammate differently. Like I'm not feeling confident in my abilities because I didn't see what was happening and you don't know if you can trust your pitcher. It's just like for me it would psychically like I would be taking psychic damage throughout the next season just because I wouldn't know what I'm looking for.
I agree with that specifically with Bo. I think like as a whole,
Yeah.
I feel like they're pushing past it and they're fighting. And they already kind of had the end of this past season to kind of do that. But you
Yeah.
with the young guys, like especially Bo. I mean, like you said, you're coming in, he's seeing every single pitcher. Is like, is he doing this to me? Is he doing this to me? Do my pitchers not trust me? Like all these things kind of just messing with his head. And you got to hope that they just rally around each other. And I mean, I think personally, when it first came out, they started playing a little better. That's I think when the turnaround started or right before the
Hmm.
turnaround started.
They had
So
the
it's
private meeting.
yeah, you could kind of feel that bad energy lift from them. You just have to hope that they keep pushing through that and, reassure each other that they do have each other's backs and it's not the rest of them.
I say they when they had that around the time, I think like right after they had that closed door meeting, the players only meeting, they also cleaned out Clase and Ortiz's lockers. And and that I feel like was a good move on their part, just being like right now, regardless of what
Yeah.
is happening, these guys don't exist to us anymore.
Yeah, get that bad aura out of there.
Exactly, exactly. Just like we need to lock the fuck in. We need to just pretend that this is not happening. Inside this clubhouse, those guys do not exist anymore. They didn't exist at all this year, and we can't allow ourselves to think about the what ifs and the what happens and all that other bullshit that might be going on. So, I'm wondering now if because I'll be honest, I always thought that Hedgie was going to come back, but I did not expect that they were going to re-sign him while the season was still on, while the playoffs were still going. I'm not
Hmm.
sure if I've ever seen that before, if I've seen someone get re-signed so quickly to a new contract while the playoffs were still happening.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm wondering if they saw that leadership in that meeting and in this latter half of the season and said, whatever happens we know something's going to happen in the off season. We know something's going to come down and this shit is probably going to rock us. And we need that leadership in the clubhouse. And we're just going to go ahead and call it now. We're not going to play games. We're going to tell the guys that, the guy that they trust is going to be there for them next year. And they just got him on the books immediately.
I think that's a smart move if that is the case. I mean, I would not doubt for a second that Hedges is the one who went in there and cleaned out the lockers himself, like if he had to. Like he's just always struck me as that kind of a guy.
Mm-hmm.
And they did shove it down. They knew they kept fighting. I think now is the best time to feel it. Like let them really like process it, let it fuel them, let it anger them, whatever. By spring training, it's a new season, it's a new day. Like you just gotta, get it out now. And we're kind of just all going through it together. Because I remember when this news first dropped over the summer, I was like, it cannot get worse than this. And then the universe laughed in my face today. It's like, here's actually how it can get 10 times worse. So it's like we're all kind of just going through it together. Them obviously a little differently than the fan base, but I feel like now is the best time to really let it sink in and process it so we can put it behind us for good.
So in previous episodes, I know a lot of us were talking about what's happening. Why don't they say anything? Why doesn't anything come out? And now I'm like, you know what? I'm glad nothing came out.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they held this for the off season. This is fine, guys. This is fine.
Can you imagine getting this news during the wild card?
Oh, dude.
I would pass away, I think.
Yeah.
I feel like the players probably expected to at least hear something shortly after the end of the World Series, I would imagine. So they were probably prepared for some sort of announcement. And so I do think that this gives them enough time to kind of digest and come to terms with what happened. I think it gives them plenty of time to do that before spring training. And so because of that, I think that they'll come back just fine. I'm very confident that I think that they'll have it all behind them and that this won't haunt them. Because I think they did a great job bouncing back last season too. And yeah, that is due in part to Hedgie leading that team meeting and Vogt and everybody else. So if they prove that, they can handle it during the season, then I think that they were pretty much prepared for the guilty outcome too, just like we were. They probably weren't prepared for the extent like we were saying too. But I do think that this gives them plenty of time to digest and just to come to terms with everything, plenty of time before the start of next season.
I'm sure they're all texting each other and FaceTiming each other and talking to each other right now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Yeah. I'm sure they're all chatting about it right now.
They had a good rant sesh today.
And yeah.
It was cathartic.
Sure they all hopped on Zoom from all of their various tropical locales currently.
Another just factor of this whole scheme that I wanted to bring up too was the fact that Clase requested and received bribes and kickback payments for throwing those pitches. That's something that really surprised me, was that not only did he get those kickbacks, but he requested them too. And I wonder if that's makes a difference in the grand scheme of things, because even though like he already did it, it's done. I wonder if, this makes it worse that he requested money and he received that money for not only throwing those pitches, but also for being the kind of the middleman between Ortiz and the bettors.
That's what I was going to bring up too.
Yes, because that's the other thing, is that Ortiz was never directly involved. He was never in direct contact with the bettors themselves. All of the communication went through Clase. And so I do think that, that was pretty savvy of Ortiz. Was that intentional? I don't know. Did he think that if he had direct contact with them, it would be a lot worse for him? Because yes, it would be. But it just really surprised me that Clase, he asked for money to be the coordinator between Clase and the bettors, and just for throwing the pitches. And I do think that definitely makes it worse, because not only was he helping his bettors and his co-conspirators get money, but he was also getting money from that too. So he did financially gain from that. And, under, I think it's MLB's Rule 21, I mean, that's grounds for being declared permanently ineligible. I actually have the rule up here. Okay, so MLB Rule 21, any player, umpire, or club or league official or employee who shall bet any sum whatsoever upon any baseball game in connection with which the bettor has a duty to perform shall be declared permanently ineligible. And then MLB sports betting policy further provided that, quote, Major League players may not ask others to place bets on their behalf, knowingly benefit financially from, or knowingly assist with bets placed by others. And from everything we've seen, Clase did do all of that.
It's
So-
almost giving, like, when you look at it from that perspective, it's almost fully giving, like, the bettors went to Clase and said, hey, do this, and Clase says, I'll be risking this, I want a payout. Like, you will be paying me for doing this for you. So it's like, it makes it so much more, like, twisted.
And they didn't
almost.
pay him. He did not ask for enough money at all to make this worth it.
No,
It is
not at all.
insane. The bettors themselves only made $400,000 only, but still,
I
like,
know. But compared to his contract,
yeah, exactly. That's
like,
what I'm
that's
comparing
pennies.
it to.
That's
Yeah,
why I can't understand why he would agree to something like that. I don't get it.
it's baffling.
Unless
it is
there's
like, did they approach him or did he approach them? It really depends on, I think, what the nature of their relationship was like.
Mhm.
Because we won't know if those bettors were friends of his or family, or maybe they coerced Clase into doing it. Maybe they threatened him or something. And that's something that actually I've had conversations about with, like, talking to my dad about this. Because I keep thinking, like, what's stopping people, just regular people, from threatening a professional athlete into, throwing pitches or tampering with bets? Like, what's stopping them from threatening them? Those players take that threat seriously, and then they do it. Like, I don't know
Kind
how
of like in the
you would go about
NBA
that investigation,
thing.
how you would go about proving coercion, but, like, it's a possibility.
I mean, there's another possibility we can consider, and this is like, there's no evidence backing this. This is just another theory that I have. Gambling is an addiction, and it's not one that we are confident Clase does or doesn't have. That could have been taken advantage of by
Right,
people
that is
who
also
knew
true.
that he had the addiction. Like, obviously, we can't prove that. We don't know that, but it's an option. Like, if somebody who sees someone with an addiction, I can take advantage of this and profit from it, they're doing it 100%. It's just like, that's just another thing that could have happened.
One of the
Let the
ones that
record
was
show that everything we say on this podcast is alleged. And it's all
We're
speculation
theorizing
for legal
I'm just
purposes.
speculating ideas here.
But go ahead, Meg.
Yeah, no, one of the things that while I was reading the indictment and stuff, and all of the charges, the fact that they were also betting on, so I'm not a bettor, and honestly, I think especially mobile sports betting is a scourge upon the society as a whole and needs to be done away with. And it was probably one of the worst things that we as a nation have legalized. I think betting should be stuck in Vegas, and you need to go to Vegas in order to do this stuff. And once you go home, you cannot do this stuff anymore. So, my own personal opinion. But the pitch speed, being able to bet specifically that he is going to go above or below a certain pitch, and very specific pitch speeds too, like 94.95 miles per hour.
I am an
he
active
was
sports bettor, and I've seen those prop bets on FanDuel and stuff too. And even my thought
It's
was, like, I
insane.
can't believe you can place bets on pitch speeds like that. And so
Yeah.
that also makes me wonder whether, a lot of these sports books, is there going to be some sort of, like, legislation or something that kind of limits what kind of bets they're allowed to place? Like, I wonder if this is going to set maybe a precedent for getting rid of certain prop bets.
I hope so,
Because I
man.
don't know who determines that, what you're allowed to bet on versus what you're not, but, like, I do think there needs to be some regulation in terms of what kind of prop bets you can place, because bets like that, those speed pitches and the type of pitches, the ball slash hit by pitch, those directly affect the outcome of a game. And, granted, most of them do, but when you get so specific like that, it becomes so much easier for people to take advantage of that. And so I do wonder that, just after all of this, are they going to have conversations about limiting what kind of bets are available?
I mean, my thought process is yes, they should, but no, they probably won't because of how many advertisements we see. Like they are fully sponsored by these
It's
corporations, and
so, I
that's what
mean,
sucks about it. Is
Right. And
it
that's a
should
whole
be,
other issue.
yeah,
Yep.
there
the
should be
Cavs are
legislation.
broadcast on FanDuel Sports TV.
So are the Blue Jackets. They're on the same.
And it used to be
Yep.
Bally, which is also a sports
Mhm.
book. So it's like one sports book to the next.
Yeah,
Well, and people were even joking, like when this came out, they were quote tweeting it, like this news article is sponsored by Bet365, and like it's funny,
That
but it's
literally
true.
happened. That
Like it's
literally, at
Huh,
Zach Meisel's article, at the end of it, it was like The Athletic has a commercial sponsorship with BetMGM.
it's just
Oh,
like
okay. Like,
you're
what the
putting
hell
it
are you
right.
talking
Like you
about?
can't put this stuff right in these people's faces,
Mm.
not give them strict limitations, and expect them to not do it. Like
one of
they
my
see it
favorites.
all
This
the
is
time.
slightly, this is about the NBA betting scandal, but when that news broke and it was up on ESPN and they were talking about it actively, there was a Bet ESPN logo on the bottom of the Chiron,
Mhm.
I was
and
just
I
going to bring
remember
that
that.
up, Meg.
it
I remember
dropped
that picture.
mid-interview. They're like, you know
Yeah.
what? This is a really bad look right now. Let's go ahead. And they just cleared the entire thing. They're like, you know what? We'll just take this off right now.
Dude,
Like, I'm
so
sorry
Right.
if you, and also the fact that like there are parlays in the middle of games, there are prop bets, like advertised, like listening to the Cavs game last night, and John Michael is being forced to talk about like these bets in the middle of the game and how else you can participate, quote unquote.
Yeah, I don't think live
It's
betting should be a
easy.
thing either. I
It's
think live
I
betting is
agree.
also
easy.
very dangerous.
Yes.
I was trying to find the post. I know that the Guardians, when they post their starting lineup, I forget what the betting company is at the
Oh yeah.
bottom. But
Bet
right,
360?
yes, I think it is Bet365. But right after the news dropped about Clase, they took
They
the Bet365 logo off because they were like, I think they posted it first, and everyone was like, "That's crazy! Like, why are you posting that?" And they
yeah.
reposted it without the logo. It's just like it's literally everywhere you turn.
I have so much beef with Bet365 because they cheated me out of $300, but that's a story for another day.
I have beef with them now too, on your behalf. I've never used that one, but I have beef with them.
I mean, I
Yeah.
have beef with every single bet platform, so I'll join in on that crusade.
I'm perusing Twitter just to get some live reactions and content, but this is an interesting tweet from hashtag the Jake talking about how this is a big win for the MLB in a sense because he's well known, he's great, and he's on a good team, but he's not on a team that makes money for MLB. And since there are actual legal charges, MLB doesn't have to be the quote bad guy. It's a huge win for them.
Ugh,
And
don't
it is
like
kind
that.
of like MLB has kind of like fallen off of this now because it's totally become like the literal country against Clase. So it's like I haven't seen anything really from the team or like MLB was like, yep, we're supporting and we have been cooperating with the officials. Like, yeah, no shit, you're cooperating with the officials, but it'll be interesting to see like when this all ends, like if they plea out or like how much it goes into court, like how fast did MLB like wash their hands of it and be like, whoa, this is totally not my problem now. This is like the government's problem. Here's all of what we know. Because it was they were investigating it. Well, they claimed they were investigating it for so long, and we got like no updates for so long because they wanted to wait until after maybe the World Series was over, wait till the off season. I'm just kind of interested. I think that's why this is so surprising to me is because it was always just an MLB investigation. And then all of a sudden today, it is a like
We're getting literal court documents.
65 years in prison, court documents. I didn't think someone was going to be arrested today. Like, there's going to be a mugshot of Ortiz, correct? Like, he's
Yeah, no,
not,
there
he's
is.
going to
You're
be
right.
arraigned and booked. Like, this is crazy. Like,
Get ready for the t-shirts.
yeah, like it came to a head so fast that I feel like the Jake makes a great point of like it's a great thing for the gambling issue because it's like it's not the organization. This is like way bigger than that. This is way different. This is like with the government and him, and like we just gave what we know and we're not involved anymore. When this whole time it was like the MLB is investigating this very, very serious breach of conduct, and now it's not.
So I
Because
am
if it's in one of those big markets, they're brushing it under the rug a little more. Like if this is the
Dodgers.
Right.
Dodgers, if this is the Dodgers, let's be
Shohei.
so. I mean, the pitch they're talking about the most is off. It's with the Dodgers. Like it's just if it's them, this is not happening to this kind of level, at least publicly yet.
I feel like what happened was that the initial investigation was conducted by the MLB. I feel like at some point they probably handed it off to the FBI because they probably found a lot more evidence that they were expecting. And so I think when they handed it off to the FBI, they probably told them that they're not allowed to speak on it or anything because it was an ongoing investigation at the time. And
Yeah.
who knows, like, is it technically still ongoing? Like, I don't know. So maybe that's why we haven't heard from the MLB or from the Guardians or anything. All
feel
they can
like we
probably
won't.
say is that they're cooperating with the investigation until something happens. But I do think that the FBI probably took control along the way. And then once that was handed off, there was probably no more that the MLB or the team could really say. But
I feel like we
that's just my
won't
guess. Like I
hear.
said, I don't really know how this
Yeah.
stuff goes, but that's just my
From
guess.
from things that I've seen, obviously not involving sports teams, but just people who go to court and take this to a higher level, they don't really speak on it until after everything's closed and over.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like you're not hearing from the MLB for a while. We're probably not going to hear from the Guardians at all because what are they going to say that they haven't already? They've already expressed that they were cooperating with the league. Now it's a little higher than just the Guardians. Like it's the MLB taking this to the literal United States government. Like
Exactly. They probably had to sign a whole bunch of NDAs and stuff.
definitely.
Oh yeah.
When you have to also consider that the main perpetrator allegedly is not even in the country. And personally, if I'm him, I'm not coming back for a hot minute. You guys got to
There
come
is
find
an
me.
extradition treaty between the United States and the Dominican Republic, so
If
they'll
that's where he
probably
is.
they'll probably get him. Well, the
Yeah, they'll-
last time we saw, he was talking about he was in the Dominican.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay. I don't have Instagram or anything.
I'm
so
pretty
I
sure.
don't-
Yeah, he's been there for a bit. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
I was like,
I
he's
mean, I
got
think
like a horse farm and shit down there.
I feel like I knew that things were starting to go bad where they were like trying to play in the summer leagues and stuff, or I guess like winter leagues down there, and they were like, no, you guys actually can't pitch in those little.
Didn't they try to like
Yeah.
appeal that or sue or
They
something?
did, yeah.
Venezuela, wasn't it? There was some.
Yeah, there's
it
like
was,
a
yeah.
it's like a apparently the Dominican Constitution says that you're not allowed to do that. I'm not 100% certain, but there was something weird that was like no, you legally can't do that for some reason.
That's
Yeah.
the level of research we put into this podcast, looking up the Dominican
Okay,
Republic's
first of all,
constitution.
that's the level of research I, Megan, put into that. I will say the rest of you do a fantastic job on your research. So there are some episodes I do a lot. There are some episodes that I do none.
Hey, we're
scan
nothing
the
if not
indictment, though.
thorough on here.
But yeah, I am curious to see who started this investigation, where I do think that now that I'm thinking back on it, that like since MLB was the one to announce it, it does sound like it started with Major League Baseball. And
That's probably the case in like most gambling issues because until they figure out the extent of it, like I would think the MLB would have to at least start that investigation, and then depending on what they find, they can hand the case off to the correct, I guess, like governing body, I guess, who would
Yeah.
get.
Which makes
Yeah.
me wonder, like, what was the breaking point for the MLB? Like, at what point did they sit back and say, "Whoa, this is absolutely out of our jurisdiction. We need
I wonder
to
if
take
it's
this
like
to
the
a much higher
international money
level."
transfers.
That's what I'm wondering.
Mhm.
If it's
Since
with
they
Yeah,
that
and the money
to the
laundering.
DR.
My guess would be like the money laundering too,
That's my
because
guess,
there
too.
was pretty
Yeah.
clear, pretty cut and dry evidence of the money laundering, of them having those I'll just call them those proxy accounts of those people at the Dominican Republic that they would send the money to, and that money would eventually go to Clase and Ortiz. So I think because those accounts existed and they had
Mhm.
open discussions about those accounts, they kind of gave them an easy paper trail.
There was also, we talked about like the bank's security cameras. I'm looking for the mess. Like,
I'm,
yeah.
I'm on it right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm looking at it too.
Yeah, go ahead then.
Oh, okay. So it's I think this is about Clase. Yeah. He was captured on the bank's security cameras withdrawing $50,000 in cash, giving 15,000 of that to his associate. And then the associate was captured on the same camera, depositing that same 15,000 back that same day, which on
1
the
hour
associate's part,
later,
what are you doing?
which
Like
is
Why are you
so
going to the same bank,
in
bro?
the same day, not even the same, like just the same day, an hour later is insane. Like give yourself a week, like a grace period.
well. And then under that in the indictment, this is I was talking to my husband about this earlier, who is a lawyer, but did not give me any legal advice on this, obviously, but
He's
explained
not
some of
our
the
lawyer.
terms.
He's not
Not
Clase's
my,
lawyer. He is not
not
Ortiz's
legal advice.
lawyer. He is a lawyer.
Just a lawyer. So in advance of the start of a June 27th game, Better One, Better Two, and several other bettors wagered approximately $18,000 on the betting platforms that subject pitch 2 would be a ball. And this led to a payout for the bettors of approximately $37,000. Now, what my husband said is there's, for these like crazy props, there's a lot of the times a limit to how much you can bet on some things. It's like you can't just be like, I'm going to put $1 million
I was gonna say
on
that
this
feels like
pitch.
a lot of money for a prop bet.
Well, and that's so. How much is several other bettors? Like, are we talking like somebody put $50, somebody put $100? Are we $1,000? Like, how much is the max amount that you could bet on this type of thing? So it's like not only is there Better One and Better Two, and there's like the associates. There's several other bettors. Like, there's other people that possibly have knowledge about this that are just not made known to the grand jury. Because for Better One and Better Two, it says like they're known to the grand jury, like their existence and their person. So it that I feel like is not being talked about as much as several other betters is so interesting to me because this is the game that they're talking about where Ortiz is involved. So this is in 2025, like this is the last one
I was gonna say this is the
before
one that
getting
kind of
caught.
triggered everything. It
Right.
almost sounds like they got a little
Too
lazy and
cute with
like
it.
they were like, "Ooh, we can get away with this. We've been
And
doing this
then
for a while now."
Well, and kind of going off of it, like the Better One and Better Two, those are the ones that made the 400K. But there's also
yeah,
there's says some money was given, and I'm reading somebody who just read the entire document, summarized it. But some of that money was obviously given back to Clase. Lots of it was sent back to the Dominican Republic. Who's receiving that money? Like, there's a lot of money that's just like, I mean, obviously we still have this 400K sitting with these two bettors, but there's more involved that we don't know who's
Exactly, and
betting it, where it's going.
and that's where the money laundering comes into play because in one instance, oh, where is it in my notes? Clase told either Clase told someone or someone told Clase to say that the payment was for
oh no, I'm on that right now.
it was for like
A
repairs for a
horse.
country
Oh, no,
house.
that one's different too.
It was
Yes.
it was yeah, there was one where he was saying that it was for the country house
And
and
then
also for
Clase
horses.
told Ortiz, yes, Clase told Ortiz to say that the money he received is for horses.
In a voice memo, it was a voice memo, so it's like they have you literally saying that. So it's like I get
With
you
your
don't want
own
to do it over
voice.
That's a
text, but it's
bad
like
look,
that's
man.
your voice saying it. So it's like if it was a text, you could be like, that was I didn't send that text. That was my translator. If you catch my drift.
Don't bring Augie into this.
But yeah, it was like so in it was all in 2025 though that this seems to get out of hand. I mean, when you look at the indictment too, if I go to like the bottom pages when they talk about the counts, so all of the counts except for I think the first one is wire fraud conspiracy, and it says in or about and between May 2023 and June 2025, both dates being approximate and inclusive. So that includes 2024, but when you look at counts two, it says April 2025 to June 2025. And that's the same for count three and count four. So count one is the one that's inclusive of 2024 in there, but the other three counts are not.
Oh, that's
And it's like,
interesting.
obviously, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't really understand what that could mean. Because in count one, they include Ortiz, even though it's including May 2023 and June 2025, all of those dates. So it's like, I feel bad for Ortiz in a way because it's like, he only did it 2 times, but he's getting the exact same charges.
So I would, I would feel bad for him if his lawyer had not come out and said not guilty.
I wonder if they're going to plea. I'm really curious.
I'm really surprised that they did not just come out and say that
we're working.
Luiz Ortiz
with it, yeah.
is cooperating with officials, and we will, work with them on figuring out how to. I really, especially if it is in fact only 2 pitches, bro, just take a plea deal.
Yeah,
just throw Clase under the bus. Exactly.
Yeah, the evidence is damning for Clase, and so I do think that Ortiz is probably going to say that he was coerced into this. Whether or not that's the truth, I feel like that's the angle they're gonna go with it.
You have to.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, your life is at risk here over 2 pitches. Like Clase, again, he's been doing this a lot longer than any of us originally thought. But
regardless, I don't think Ortiz is going to be pitching in Major League Baseball again.
No, I don't think so either.
He's done.
Yeah.
And
I mean, coerced or not, you did it. Like, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I'm also really,
but I think he could probably. No, you're fine. Sorry, I'm just talking. But like, I think Ortiz could, if his lawyer hadn't had come out with that statement, could have taken a plea deal and probably got off with probation. Like, I really think that, granted, again, not a lawyer. I watched Law and Order back in the day, but that's about it. But if it's based off of 2 pitches, I really feel like he probably could have just pled down, gotten probation, paid some fines, and washed his hands of it.
And I feel like there's a very specific route that he would have to take to get to that, but it's still a possibility. Yeah.
It's possible, but
it's the possibility would definitely be
there. I mean, the way that the statement comes out, it certainly seems like I think he thinks he has an angle here that he can reasonably be innocent and not take a plea. Like, I think he's saying, like, the evidence against me is circumstantial and it's way more Clase. Like, I could just say, like, I didn't know what Clase was running behind there. I think Allie mentioned that in her messages, that it just looks like Luis was more like, I mean, obviously it seems like he's the one that got them caught. So
and I can literally think of the pitch that would have flagged me, and it's the strike. It's the strike that he threw, and he like screamed after. It's like I've never seen anybody mad about a strikeout like that. I was like, that is so bizarre.
That wasn't even one of the pitches named.
It wasn't.
I think that was separate.
He's fired up.
Yeah, that was a separate incident.
Yeah, it was just like, I feel like Clase unfortunately hit it so much better. It's just so it's so convenient that they got caught so soon after Ortiz joined.
Right. I have 2 things. So one, I'm surprised that no pitches of Clase's were flagged. Because remember, this whole thing started with Ortiz. There were both those pitches of his were the ones that got flagged by FanDuel. I'm shocked, actually, that this went on from May of 2023. I don't know how often they were doing it in 2024 since we don't have that information, but I can't believe that not a single pitch of Clase's was actually clocked from the sports betting platform. So I don't really know. Maybe they really did just get that savvy with it. I don't know, but it's something that kind of just popped into my head, and I'm like, that's really weird, because this whole thing did start with Ortiz, so he kind of just blew the entire operation. So if not for that, then yeah, we don't know how much longer that this would have went on.
I'm scrolling through the indictment right now, looking at the screenshots, and there are 2 Clase pitches that landed before the plate that look suspect, but everything else is kind of around home plate. Like, they're easily explainable as either, they just slipped out of his hand, or he didn't have control, which, knowing Clase, and, granted, knowing, like, at this point, did we know Clase? Like, it felt normal for him, for some of these pitches to get away from him.
I feel like he's always had that 1 or 2 funky pitches that we're like, are we sure that this guy is, in
And then he
Cy
would
Young
lock in
talks.
and he
Yeah,
would be fine. But
absolutely.
now looking back on it, it's like, okay, that was his prop bet pitch.
Were all those
And
other
now,
pitches part of the same thing? Yeah.
yeah,
Did
like
he
is
really
every
have command
single.
issues when
And then
coming in? Like,
looking at Ortiz's screenshots, those are insane. Those are so far out of the box. Like one of them, the last screenshot on page 18, it's Ortiz looking dismayed and Bo looking behind him with like his hand up,
Oh,
like
I
what's
see.
going on, and the
Oh,
ball like at the head of the umpire hitting the backstop. Like it is so egregious that he completely missed it. But it looks like even it landed like at the grass too.
it did. Yeah,
Like
you
for
can see the
like
dot where it says 88,
yeah,
and it's like
exactly.
it's before it even hits the dirt, which
Like
is
he
like
was just so bad at
even a
this.
position player wouldn't throw it that bad.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think my husband's more of a normie, like a normal fan, and he made a good point where he was like, a reliever, it's you don't see him a lot, and Clase especially has such crazy pitches that reasonably you could be like, oh man, like that one got away from him. Like when he hit
Mm-hmm.
India in the head or whatever, like all these times you could be like, that's weird, like he just really lost that one. But with a starting pitcher, there's supposed to be way less variation. Like you're not throwing 100 miles per hour. You're not doing these crazy ass splits and curves and whatever. Like you should have more command in general. But like, why are you throwing 88 into the grass before the mound? Clase throwing like a 95 or whatever in the dirt that's curving. That makes a lot more sense. Where you're like, oh man, like that one really got away. But it just I get it from that standpoint where it's like you couldn't flag Clase because you don't see him a lot, and you're like, oh man, he didn't play, or he played too much, or he hasn't played in a long time. Whereas a starting pitcher is like you see him every 5 days or whatever. So not having command like that is really strange.
I definitely agree with that. It makes a lot more sense to see it out of him.
Yeah. I do also wonder if that because Clase was one considered a slightly wild pitcher and occasionally one would get away from him like this. And that, like you said, he has funky pitches and that splitter can do, or whatever his pitches, they can do funky
Cutter.
things. Yeah, his cutter can do funky things as it goes, that the prop bets weren't flagged because that's his norm. So people are like, you know what? Like like the bettors could understand why people are making bets for him on these particular pitches, on the first pitch of a first inning. Whereas, like you said, Ortiz, a starting pitcher, should be a little bit more normal. And these pitches are so far outside and ahead of the plate and just so outside of the norm, especially both of these pitches here that I'm looking at again on page 18. It's the third inning at this point. You should be a little settled in. You shouldn't
mhm.
really be throwing these pitches like this. So
I
it's
wonder though, I mean, because I feel like that's kind of like a subjective take on it. I do wonder if like the reason Ortiz's pitches were flagged is because of the amount of bets that were placed on those pitches and the amount of money that was wagered. I think that was at least like one of the reasons why it was flagged. And
I
so
think
it
it
just makes
is
me, yeah, so
initially.
it just makes me wonder how, with this going on for so long, like, how did none of Clase's pitches that people were wagering tens of thousands of dollars on constantly, how did those not get flagged and Ortiz's did? Like that's just another part of this that doesn't make sense because if they're wagering that kind of money on these pitches, and this was a kind of on a regular basis when it started. I mean, this was in May 2023. There were, I think, 2 games in May, 2 games in June. So like they
And
were
like
they were doing this not regularly, but semi-regularly. And so that just surprises me that none of these were flagged with the amount of money that these people were placing on those prop bets.
especially like as far as Clase goes, like I mean, obviously we've talked about he has funky pitches every now and then, and sure, some of them were bet on. Maybe he threw one bad one time to kind of like offset it and say make this a little bit more normal. But again, like you said, there's a lot of money being placed on one of them versus none on the other. So it's like, how are those not being noticed? Like, sure, a little funky pitch every now and then is a little bit more in his arsenal than a starter. But the money is where, like, why are we not seeing the money being put on it?
Right.
Actually, though, oh, go ahead, Sarah.
Another thing, I just wanted to backtrack really quick. When we were talking about the other bettors that were involved, they were involved from the beginning.
I was just
And
about
so
to
I
say
think
that.
it's also weird that we don't have an exact number of
Mhm.
how many others there were, because I'm looking
It
now,
says
they
several
were
other
involved.
bettors multiple times. It says
Yeah,
several,
they
11
were
times in the
involved in the very
document.
first, yeah, the
Yeah, it
first
says the May
instant.
19th, several of the bettors won approximately
Mm-hmm.
27,000.
Yep. And on June 3rd, it was a specific pitch that Clase intended to throw. Better won, and several of the bettors won
Mm-hmm.
approximately $38,000. So these other bettors, they weren't just involved in one or two instances. They were involved in most of them.
And like, are
And
they
so
gonna get arrested? Like,
right,
for
or just
like
give us a
several
number.
other
How
bettors,
many
like how
others
many,
were
yeah,
they? Like, was it
conspirators?
just a couple? Was it like hundreds of them? Because that also lends to just the scope of this whole enterprise.
And
Like, I think
that's a
that's a very
point.
important detail
I
that we
say,
just
and
didn't get.
they probably let the grand jury know because it
Hmm.
does say that better one and better two are known to the grand jury.
But they're
But
not in America, so it's like they're not under our laws. I mean, I guess they're using our
Right.
platforms. I don't know how. I guess they are. Well, they are. I don't know.
yeah,
Well,
I
it's
don't
like
know
better
the
one and two were
specifics.
probably the ones that bet the most money. So obviously
Yeah,
they're going to get the most attention. But if there's other people involved in this and they know that it's going on, then why aren't they kind of betting big bucks on it too? If they know that this is going on, that they have contact with Clase and that he's throwing the pitches, like I don't know.
they
It's
use
just weird to
civil
me.
law. It's different than ours, but I'm not. I don't. I'm not even going to read that right now. But a one point that my husband made, a lawyer, not their lawyer, but and not legal advice. He said that he makes a lot of money as a pitcher, obviously, and being Americans and stuff, like, I don't know your guys' life story, but when people come from another place that is poor, you send money back when you're successful. So it's like I understand this precedent and this setup of like you're doing well and you want to send money back home for your friends and family. But a point that my husband was possibly making is, what if you can set up a way for them to make a consistent amount of money and you don't have to send anything? You talk to this one person who's in the DR, and then they facilitate with other people, friends, family, randoms in the DR to make money off of this bet, and you kind of keep your hands clean. So it's like he was almost allegedly, if that's what it looks like, setting up a money making system for these people to take care of themselves without him having to send a bunch of his salary back home all of the time, is kind of
That's an
what I
interesting
think. So
point.
it's like,
Yeah.
why would you do this for almost no money? Like we were saying in the beginning,
Hmm.
he didn't make shit. He didn't make anything. It was ridiculous what he was asking for. To $5,000 to facilitate this stupid ass pitch for Ortiz is ridiculous. So there to me just has to be, and for it to be a conspiracy, there has to be so many more people involved than just two random dudes in the DR and one guy in New York and then the two pitchers. Like
And
that
and
just doesn't
And an
make sense.
unnamed amount of
And
others.
that kind of
Yeah.
goes along with a thought that I've had since the beginning of this, since we got this, document, and since we noted that 2024 has not been mentioned once. It almost makes me wonder if there's something so much deeper in 2024 that they've done, not necessarily a whole separate investigation into that year, but maybe dove a little deeper into it, because maybe that's why we don't have specific numbers of how many people are betting or how much they're betting, why it's not mentioned, because they're like, there's so much that happened in this year. Because again, 0.61 ERA regular season collapse in the postseason. Maybe the
Mhm.
guilt caught up to him because maybe there was a lot more going on in that particular year than before. So
Well, and they
maybe
still
there's
have
something
time to
else.
collect evidence. Like
Hmm.
I think if I listen to my husband well enough, which I haven't, there's time to collect evidence for both sides now, and you kind of have to agree. Each side has to agree and fight over what evidence can be presented in court because there's certain things that can be um, like not prejudicial, I think is the word. So there will be even more time for collecting proper evidence, and maybe the identities of the people are known to the grand jury, but maybe these people don't even know that they're about to be like subpoenaed, or they're going to be arrested. And if we're working with the DR, like there's so much more time for things to be revealed and for evidence to be collected, that maybe they're
Hmm.
like, let's just look at the end and the beginning. Like, here's where it started,
Good
here's
point.
where it ended, and then we've already got enough from the two sides, and now we have them. They're going to be arrested, and then we'll have more time to talk to them,
Hmm.
figure out the names of who else is involved, because we've already got you guys, and
And
then they can look at 2024
exactly,
from
because
there.
I mean, several betters could be five or it could be 30. Like we
Exactly.
don't know.
That's what I'm
Like
saying.
and
Could be
Eighteen
500.
if
thousand
it,
dollars of wagers.
yeah,
That's a lot of people, I feel
and that's
like.
a lot of time that you need to go and individually pluck every single person out and put them in front of you so you can see how big this scheme really was. Like it's not something that is just going to happen overnight, depending on how many several betters there were. So, and there could be so much more from 2024 that is just waiting to explode.
That's a good point, Kelsey, when you brought up maybe they're just focusing on the beginning and the end of it. Maybe this was like a suitable amount of evidence to turn in just to get some sort of answer,
It
because
was
I
enough
do
to get an
think that
indictment.
right, I do
That's what
think
my
that
husband
maybe
says.
they
That's
were
enough for the grand
right, like
jury to indict.
maybe the league was kind of like, okay, we have to give like the Guardians some sort of answer now, or we have to work with some sort of timetable because this has implications on their clubhouse too and their organization. So like maybe they figured that they had enough to at least hand down an indictment to get an answer for the public and for the team and for the league. And so yeah, maybe they are continuing this investigation, because I highly highly doubt that they didn't investigate 2024 or that they didn't find anything in 2024, especially in the postseason. So I do hope that it's still ongoing, and it'll be interesting what they find, because I do think that this
Hmm.
is bigger than what is said in the indictment, especially with these amount of other betters. So there's still so much we don't know.
And also, yeah, like not that I know anything about prison sentences, but 65 years feels a little extreme for the couple of pitches that we're basing this off of. There has to be so much more for them to be facing that potential sentence.
I was say my thought would be that at most Ortiz is going to get a couple months to a year, if not completely just plead to probation. Clase will probably get more. He'll probably see, the inside of a minimum security prison for a couple of years.
Hmm.
I do not see, unless something big about 2024, particularly the playoffs, comes down and millions of dollars end
Hmm.
up being found or coming out from this.
And that's what I
I
feel
do
like
not
there's so
see.
much more.
Yeah, I don't see that these particular indictments called out in this particular in this document is going to get 65 years. I don't see that whatsoever.
Yeah,
I
no,
have
there's no way they're going to get anywhere close to 65 years, and like that's pretty normal
Yeah.
in any indictment. They give you like the list of like
they
how many years you're
over
The
facing,
worst
but
of the worst.
it
they
never comes close to
overcharge
that
so that
number.
they can plead you down.
Yeah,
Right,
You
exactly.
like
exactly.
for
It's
first degree
never close
murder
to
or
that number.
kidnapping, blah blah blah, and then they plea you down to like, oh, that was
Mhm.
second degree or whatever. I have one thought to maybe as we get to closing that is interesting, that also my husband brought up, because he's much smarter than I am, but this is an interesting thought of like, when it did start, where did the seed money kind of come from? Because when you think about the DR, like sports betting is legal there and it's popular, but like to be betting this amount from the DR, like I feel like that would flag specifically already there, because it just like, who betting $18,000, like that is a crazy amount, but like what is the value of that in DR as well? And if you have like better 1 and 2 or specific, like if these people are not already like rich or something themselves, that just seems so weird to have like this amount of money starting off. Like in the indictment, how much was the first amount? I think it was like 18,000 wagered in the May 2023 game to
Something
win.
like that, yeah.
It was they won 27,000 for, because they were betting on the speed of the pitches. But it's like, to have this much to be like throwing into the sports book and bringing out, I feel like that's an interesting thing to think about too. Like, I know Clase used his, allegedly used his own money towards the end, but I wonder like if he had an account over there that was used to get it started, because that just seems like a lot of pesos to be putting into the whatever they use over there, because I don't think they use like DraftKings or something. There's like a totally different, there, it's over, their sports betting is overseen by like Secretaria de Estado de Deportes, Educación Física and Recreación. There's 1,000 sports books operating throughout the country.
Good Lord.
Wow.
That's why I think it's also important to know how they came to this agreement, whose idea it was from
Exactly.
the onset, how they
Yeah.
organize this, because this is a very organized scheme that they had. And
To go this
so
long,
they have
yeah.
all of this communication, they have all of these texts, so they should be able to figure out a way in which they organize this, because I think that'll give you all your answers right there, like why they chose the amount of money they did, who approached who to start this whole thing. Those are the answers that at least I want. Like,
And it was
how
obvious, yeah.
exactly did this come to be?
And it was obviously very like thoroughly planned and organized, because
Exactly,
again,
that's what I'm
yeah,
saying.
like I
And
brought
like,
up before, like if Ortiz didn't come into this, does Clase get caught? Because he didn't up till now. It's like this was very thought through.
right, and Clase was the one pretty much like driving this whole thing. Another thing, I don't know who decided on which pitches they were going to place props on. I don't know if that was Clase or if that were the betters, but it sounds like Clase he was kind of like the ringleader, it sounds like, especially when Ortiz came onto this, because he was the coordinator between the three of them. And so I just find it hard to believe that, like, I don't know. I just really think that he knew exactly he was doing, and that he was kind of the driving force behind this.
And the way that he would like call them on the phone during games to confirm everything.
Yeah,
Dude, I
wait,
was
we
gonna
haven't really
say,
talked about that
he's
yet.
texting and calling while he's
during
in
the
the
In
game.
the dugout, which is also
And
against
I was
MLB
at the
rules.
game
Yes.
too. He called him while the guy was in the stands. It's like,
Yes.
The
can
guys
you
were
imagine
at the
him
games and he was
sitting
calling.
next to him and he's talking to the fucking closing pitcher, like, hush, hush, like, what the hell is going on?
Right. I mean, in the indictment, they showed text messages between the two, and then minutes later, Clase would enter the game and he would throw the pitch. So,
Yeah, so
like,
he
they
was
were
hearing,
actively planning that shit
calling
out
the
in real
bullpen,
time.
calling the bullpen, being so Vogt or like whoever's calling the bullpen, being like, okay, we want Clase to save, and instead of like fucking getting ready to go into the game and save the game and win the game for the city, he's fucking calling his friend and texting his friend, allegedly, to throw a ball as the first pitch, like already going in and starting your outing on the wrong foot.
They're
I'm honestly
conspiring in
surprised.
real time.
So
It's
Yeah.
he
insane.
had such a
The
great
other one
season.
too, whichever one he had planned, it was against the Dodgers. I forget which Dodger player ended up swinging at it.
Haha.
Yes, like 10 minutes later, you're sending gifts to your friend, like, oh, sad little puppy dog. Like, that's crazy.
Okay, yeah, so here's exactly what happened in that instance. Better One sent Clase a text before the game asking if he was, quote, all set, to which Clase responded yes. Betters 1 and 2 placed wagers totaling $4,000 on the prop bet that the pitch would be a ball or hit by pitch. Clase's pitch appeared to be a ball, but Andy Pajes swung at the pitch, causing them to lose the bet. After they lost, Better One sent Clase a gif of a man hanging himself with toilet paper, to which Clase responded with a, quote, sad puppy dog face.
Crazy.
By the
That's
way,
just
Man,
crazy.
those two gifts are going to be used against us
Oh
on
my
Twitter
gosh.
I've already
It's
seen
gonna be
them.
the
I've
same. The
seen it.
lights are
I've
too
seen it
bright,
next
so
year.
man.
many
I've already
times.
seen them. I
That
saw the
toilet
toilet
paper
paper one
meme,
twice right
that
before
it's
getting
going
on.
to be just, I mean, and also the thing is, we're going to be using it too. Like,
Oh yeah,
that's the thing. We're like, you're going
you
to be,
have
if,
to
But ironically,
you have to
yes.
like what I always say in other situations is bully yourself before they bully you. Like
Yeah.
we
Oh,
just
yeah.
have we have to claim
Mhm.
it. We gotta
Yeah.
claim it.
Oh, I mean, and
Wait.
I'm going to do the exact same thing.
Yes.
When we blow a game, that's going to be the first thing that I post. Like,
This is,
you have
sorry,
yeah,
I
you
know,
have to
You have
laugh at
to.
yourself.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know
laugh to
we're
keep from
trying to
crying.
close out, but I'm now on Reddit on MLB
Oh, God.
art, and
We're
this is
deep in the
Bless
trenches
you.
here, y'all.
this is a really good point though. It's someone saying 6 hours ago, while everyone's focused on the relatively small amount of money involved, it is highly likely there's so much more to this. One is that these were small payouts getting the pitchers to prove they would and could pull this type of thing off, possibly offering them big money down the road when it mattered more, like a playoff game. That type of reel them in slowly. Another happens all the time is both were indebted to their bookies for possible non-baseball bets and were threatened with exposure if they didn't follow through. And it's kind of another thought here is like the what's going on under this is there's so much. I mean, there is a lot of gambling problems. Obviously, we've seen with sports, a lot of sports players having like debts and issues and stuff. So it is kind of like maybe that's those small amounts were something like to prove or
Kind of
something
like a
to
trial run, yeah.
yeah, like because when you make big wagers, that flags it more too. So it's like you do these small increments so that you don't flag your bank or you don't flag the sports app. So it is kind of like if you think you would not get caught and you do this for like the rest of your career, these small 5, 7, 12, whatever numbers become more lucrative if you're like, oh, this is so we've got it made in the shade, this is going to work out. Like if I just do this like once every game, that's like a
Yeah,
third
maybe
of
they
my
kind of
salary at
figured
the end
out
of the
that that's
year.
maybe they kind of figured out that that's the sweet spot, like the
Yeah.
amount of money to bet that won't get flagged, but enough to where you're making a considerable profit. And maybe
Yeah.
they figured out the right frequency to do it too, because they did it like a couple games a month, it seems.
I'm
And so I
kind of
wonder
with
if
school spin a
2024
little
follows
bit.
that pattern too. I wonder if
Yeah.
So I'm so
2024 follows
curious
that
about
pattern. I don't
2024.
know.
I
Like
mean,
So
I
I
know I'm
think
gonna
we could,
feel so sick if we figure out the truth
oh,
about
dude.
2024, but like
The
I
thing
don't.
is,
Yeah.
it's gonna keep me up.
I need the truth though. I need the truth.
I
I
oh,
need to
need to
yeah.
know.
know.
Like, one, it happened in 2024. Like, I think we need to accept that now. Two, betting regardless during the playoffs are going to be at higher amounts
Hmm.
across the board. It doesn't matter whether or not there's a conspiracy and illegal betting happening. So I do think that we all have to prepare to get our feelings hurt in the future. And unfortunately, the thing that's going to really fucking suck about all this is that we have to remember that trials take a
A long
long,
time.
long
Yes. It's
time.
going to be a
Unless they
long time.
plea and then they don't go to trial at all.
Yeah, so that's also what I'm curious about, to see if we get any plea deals and if they
I'm sure
just,
they don't want
bite the
this
bullet.
revealed even more and more. If you throw the better under the bus, throw Clase under the bus, and maybe we can sign NDAs
I
and
mean,
everybody can relax.
I see Ortiz, whether it's like very slim, but I see him having a chance of getting the minimal. I don't see Clase getting out
Yeah,
of this
No,
yeah.
at all.
Everyone just
absolutely
throw
not.
Clase under the bus.
Especially
Call it a
when
day.
2024, when they let us know what happened there. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
he's
I
he's
Nobody's
done
gonna
for.
like him anyways.
I absolutely believe now at this point that he he threw the playoffs, that he threw the ALCS, and
I'm accepting it now so that if they
yeah.
come out and say, "Oh, he didn't do that," I'll be like, "Oh, that's nice." But I would rather be
I'm
like pleased and surprised than surprised the opposite way. Like I'm just
Unfortunately,
accepting that he
that's what
did
I
it.
was hoping for before this came out.
Yep.
Like,
I do also just wonder when MLB is going to like formally issue the lifetime ban.
Yeah,
Because at least for Class A, like the writing's on the wall.
maybe
I mean,
tomorrow.
Ortiz too, because like the fact of the matter is he did it. Like intentions be damned. Like I think as per the MLB rules, like those are grounds for lifetime ban. So I also just wonder when that's just going to be official.
Maybe now that it's
I
not a
mean,
big
this is
market
all
team.
still alleged.
Yes.
True. Yeah.
I would be interested to see. I did not keep up with the Pirates scandal, so I don't know when they issued that particular ban on that player.
I'm
That's
not
true.
sure.
I
We would
have
have to
it.
look
It
into
was
that. Yeah.
so this was like in July of 2024. The article. He was permanently banned. He placed 387 baseball bets,
That's
totaling more
insane.
than 150,000 in October 22, and from last July through November. So he did it in 2022 and 2023 when Ortiz was there, not involved, but he was on the team, like they were teammates.
Was
He
he
became
criminally charged at all?
I'm not. It doesn't say in the screenshot, but he became the first active player in a century to be banned for life because of gambling. So
Was he convicted though?
I know I'm looking that up right
Yeah,
now.
I'm
I'm
trying
on.
Because
to
I
Google.
wonder. Because I want to know how much. If he was indicted, how much longer after that did they issue the ban? Is what I want to know.
I don't see
He was
on
officially
Wikipedia.
banned on June
Yeah,
4th of 2024.
yeah. So that's when the article came out.
So
So
yeah,
that
so
was like,
that's when the ban was.
but I don't see anything in his Wikipedia about him like being. Yeah, when I look up his name, like I don't see
So
anything. So that's
granted,
what I'm
this is
saying.
the Google AI overview, which I take with a grain of salt, but it does say Marcano has not been indicted. He was suspended for life by MLB in June
That's what
2024
I'm
for
saying is so crazy
gambling.
about this with
Hmm.
Clase and Ortiz. Is like this is what I expected to happen is you'd be banned for life. Like you guys bet on games. That's so silly. I think he wasn't indicted because when I read the article, he wasn't playing. He was on the IL for an
Oh,
injury.
I do
That
remember
might be
reading something
why.
about that,
So he was just bored out of his fucking mind, I guess, and betting on. I mean, he was betting on the Pirates, I think, but he wasn't
which is just so
playing.
dumb on so
So
many
it doesn't.
levels.
He's
Yeah,
not rigging the games because
from
he's
what
not
I'm
involved.
seeing, there were other players that did it, but they didn't bet on their own games. They were just betting on different ones, but none of them appealed.
Ooh. He bet on 25 Pittsburgh Pirates games while he was
Yeah,
assigned to the team but was
he
injured.
bet
And he
on his
lost
own.
all of them.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he bet on his own team. The other players that were involved at the time did not bet on their own games,
Okay.
but
So
none
I
So
of them
wonder.
appealed,
I
according to this
wonder if
article.
the league has the power to make that decision, even though even though they're not formally convicted yet. Like, I wonder if the MLB can go, oh, well, we think that they have enough grounds for a lifetime ban. And I wonder if they
yeah,
can still issue that even before an official
that's what I
ruling.
think is because it's the weekend and they're not in the office and maybe not tomorrow. Like we'll probably maybe see something more detailed than just the statement that came out
Yeah,
today
we'll
because
see
that was
something
kind of
Yes,
just
because
probably.
that's
yeah,
going to
like
be
they need to
everyone's
have like a
question is that
board
are they
meeting
going to
with
pitch?
Manfred and stuff and like talk about
Right.
it.
That's what everyone's going to be asking is, are they going to pitch again? Which, I mean, I'm 99% sure the
No.
answer is no, but people still
Yeah.
need to know that for sure. I think
Yeah.
the Guardians organization needs to know that for sure.
I
Mhm.
say,
So
I
I just
wonder if
wonder
they're
when all that's going to
gonna.
be official.
I mean, I would assume. I don't know. I would hope that it's gonna happen tomorrow. Like this is now official. They have been indicted.
It's
They have
Monday.
the
The
proof
next.
here that this is happening. Um, I would assume that because this is the weekend, they are not making decisions currently. So tomorrow, Monday, um,
That's
they
what I
would come
think
down
too.
and say something. I'm also curious if they're going to give Cleveland any kind of like compensation for this.
I doubt
I
it.
I
They
doubt
don't
it.
care about us.
Yeah, because also it was kind of like Clase is the ringleader and he's the
Yeah.
one who brought Ortiz in. And so it sucks that we lost. We did this trade and we traded Jimenez and now we have nothing to speak for it.
I said in the group chat earlier, it looks like the Rangers won the one inning of Corey Kluber trade after all.
Yeah.
Oh, well, all right. I think we've beat this topic to death as much as we could tonight.
That was a great way
Um,
to end.
so we'll see what happens as this goes on. Obviously, we'll be talking about it more as we learn more information. And whenever the trial starts, whenever I would assume they extradite Clase, or if he decides to come back on his own. But thank you, ladies, Sarah, Ash, Kelsey, for joining me tonight. Next week, hopefully, we'll have a much funner episode to have for you guys. We will be doing the first annual, hopefully annual, Looking Back Awards and awarding lookies to all of our favorite players for such awards as Team MVP, Team Reliever of the Year, not Clase. I think we can say who wins worst with money. I think that is now a given. Biggest
That
aura
category
farmer.
has been voided.
Yes, that category has been voided. Thank you. So go ahead. The voting is still open. We're going to go ahead and keep it open for the week. Thank you to everybody who has already voted. We've been getting some nice, virtually every category also has a write-in. So please feel free to write in your favorite player for whatever category you see fit. I will fight you on some of them, and I will make a decision.
No write-ins on the mustache category, please.
Oh, well, no, I didn't
Oh,
allow
Not
it.
allowed.
I built the form. No one else is allowed to have a mustache. So
There's only one.
I think Tanner attempted and decided very quickly that that was not a good call. So thank you everybody, and we will see how this plays out over the next year or so. Hopefully sooner than that. Fingers crossed for please. Again, thank you, ladies. Have a good night.